This is Radhakrishna, lecturer in computer science, PRR and GK Chambers Degree College, Argun. Today, I'm going to explain distributed systems from second video. This is for BSc Computer Science, 6th semester cluster. In this video, I'm going to explain the following content. Tightly coupled systems, loosely coupled systems, mini computer model, and workstation model. These are the contents I'm going to explain in this today's video. Please observe carefully. Multi-process system. What is a multi-process system? This is a system with single operating system which coordinates various processes. If any single operating system that can coordinate various operations, then we have to call that system as multi-process system. So, this multi-process system can be defined as this is a system with a single operating system which coordinates various processing activities either through shared memory or inter-process messages. So that single operating system may use any method that may use shared memory or that may use inter-process messages. Any of this method can be used by the operating system. Then that system is called as multi-process system. This multi-process system is two types. We have two types of multi-process systems. Those are tightly coupled system. This is the first one, tightly coupled system. Please observe this. Tightly coupled system. And the second one is loosely coupled system. That is the second one. So these two systems fall under multi-process systems. First, let us see which is tightly coupled system and which is loosely coupled system. First one, what is tightly coupled system? First, let us observe a diagram. Then we'll discuss tightly coupled system. This is the diagram for tightly coupled system. In this, observe carefully, we have 4 CPUs and a common memory, shared memory. All these components are connected with the help of interconnection hardware. So all these components are connected. Now, how this works? What is the definition for tightly coupled system? First, let us see. In tightly coupled, main memory is shared by all the process. So this is also called as high degree of sharing, high degree of resource sharing. In this tightly coupled system, memory will be shared. So that is explained in this diagram. Here, this memory is shared by these 4 CPUs. So systems with a single system-wide memory, then it is called a tightly coupled system. In this, parallel processing system will be performed. Shared memory multiprocess system, SMMP. These are the similar words, similar names for this tightly coupled system. So If we have some CPUs, here observe carefully, there is no memory for any CPU. Four CPUs are there in this diagram. No CPU is having memory. Only one common memory is there. So this common memory will be shared by all the CPUs. No CPU is having memory. These are only CPUs. Then how this system works? Let us see. This is an example how tightly coupled system works. As per this example, see, in these systems, there is a single system-wide primary memory that is shared by all the processors. That means if we have four CPUs, as per this example, so these four CPUs will share the common memory area. This memory will be used by these CPUs with the help of this interconnection hardware, with the help of a communication. No memory, no separate memory is there for any CPU. Four CPUs are there and a common memory is there. This common memory will be shared by these CPUs. The same point explained here. In these systems, there is a single system-wide primary memory that is shared by all the processors. Now see what happens. If any one processor writes, that means if this processor writes some value, that value will be sent to this common area, common memory. If this CPU sends a value, it will be stored in this memory only. And for this CPU also, the same memory will be used. If any CPU sends a value, then it will be sent to the common memory. The same he is saying. If any processor writes, for example, the value 100 to the memory location X, that means suppose if this CPU stores 100 to the memory location X, so at the location X, 100 will be stored. Any other processor subsequently read from the location X will get the value 100. Means here this CPU writes the value 100 to the location X. So the value 100 will be stored in this memory at the location X. After that, if any CPU reads the location X, that means if this CPU reads the location X, then what is the value stored in this location X? 100. So that 100 will be given to this CPU. Thus, the memory will be shared between all the CPUs. Suppose if this CPU stores the value 1000 to the location Y, then the value 1000 will be sent to this location and it will be stored at a particular position Y. So here the value at Y is 1000. After that, if this CPU tries to read data from this Y, then the value stored here is Y. What is the value stored in Y? 1000. That 1000 will be sent to this CPU. So the same explained here. Therefore, in these systems, any communication between the process usually takes place through shared memory. So the communication between these processes, because the common is shared memory here. So with the help of this common location, communication will be performed between these CPUs. So that is tightly coupled system. Please observe this diagram. And please study this loosely coupled system. Let us see what is loosely coupled system. and how it works. Please observe this diagram. In this, we have four CPUs. So four CPUs are interconnected or communicated with the help of this communication network. In addition, here each CPU is having its own local memory. Four CPUs, all these four CPUs are having its local memory, and these CPUs are connected with the help of this communication network. But in tightly coupled systems, just we discussed, no CPU is having local memory. But in loosely coupled system, every CPU will have its own memory. So let us discuss how this loosely coupled system works. See, this is the explanation for loosely coupled systems. In these systems, the processor do not share memory. There is no common memory here. And each processor writes the value to its memory. Okay, we'll see. With the help of the same previous example we discussed with tightly coupled systems. Each CPU is having its own memory. If this CPU writes data, that will be stored in its memory only. If this CPU stores, it will be stored in its memory. So every CPU will store data in its own local memory. Suppose if this CPU stored the value 100 to the location X, then that 100 will be stored in its local memory at the location X. And if this CPU stores the value 200 at the location X, then the value 200 will be stored at the location X in its memory only. Now, if this CPU reads, otherwise, if this CPU reads the value at the location X, then it will get 100. And if the CPU reads the value in its location X, then it will get 200. Like that, there is no common memory here. The same is explained here. Please observe here. In these systems, the processor do not share memory. Here, memory is not shared. And each processor writes the value 100 to the memory location X. This write operation will only change the contents of local memory and will not affect the contents of the memory of any other processor. If any processor stores value, then that value will be stored in its memory only. No other CPUs or no other processors memory will be disturbed. That's why here the explanation is continued here. Hence, if another processor reads the memory location X, it will get whatever the value stored in its local memory, it will be accessed only. That means here in this X, 100 is stored. In this X, 200 is stored. In this X, some other value 500 is stored. Then, if any processor tries to read the particular value of X, then it will get from this location, from its own memory only, not from other CPUs. So the same explanation is given here. Please study this once. In these systems, the processor do not share memory. Memory is not shared here. But in tightly coupled systems, there is a common memory and it will be shared by all the processors. But in loosely coupled systems, every processor is having its own memory. The memory sharing is not there. And the same example is explained here. If any value is stored, it will be stored in its local memory only. And if any processor tries to read value from the memory, then it will get from its local memory only, not from the common memory, because there is no common memory in this system. Now let us see some points regarding. Usually, tightly coupled systems are called as parallel processing systems. You can call tightly processing systems as parallel systems. And loosely coupled systems are referred to as distributed systems. So, the best example for distributed systems is loosely coupled systems. Whereas, if you see tightly coupled systems, it is referred to as parallel systems. Now, we have to verify, we have to discuss some other points about these tightly and loosely coupled systems. First one, tightly coupled systems are referred to as parallel systems, already we discussed, and loosely coupled systems are referred to as distributed systems. Now, next one, in case of tightly coupled systems, the process of distributed computing system can be located far from each other. If you need tightly coupled systems, process will be at different locations. These will be far from different each other. So thus large geographical area will be covered. And one more point we have to remember. In tightly coupled system, the number of processes that can be usefully deployed. This is usually very small or very limited. So the point is the tightly coupled system, the number of processes that can be usefully deployed is usually small. It's very less and limited by the bandwidth of the shared memory. So distributed systems that we are discussing, this will come, distributed systems comes under the category of loosely coupled systems. So distributed system is the best example for loosely coupled systems. The distributed computing systems are more freely expandable. We can expand whenever required. You can add more systems. You can add more components without disturbing the existing system. That's why here the distributed system, computer system are more freely expandable. We can freely expand and can have an almost unlimited number of processes. There is no limit for process. You can add any number of processes. You can add any number of machines to the existing system. Thus, this loosely coupled system is the best example for distributed system. So you can call loosely coupled system as distributed system. Various models can be used to create distributed systems. So these are the models that can be used to create distributed computing models. Let us discuss each one. So the models available here are mini computer model, workstation model, workstation server model, processor pool model, hybrid model. So these are the 5 models available to create, to construct a distributed computing model, a distributed computing system. Now let us see each one. First one is mini computer model. Please observe this diagram first. This is the diagram which shows the construction of mini computer model. In this, 4 mini computers are connected with the help of a communication network. Each mini computer is having its own terminals. Observe this mini computer is having 3 terminals, it's having 4 terminals, and it's having 5, and it's having 5. Like that, there will be several mini computers, and each mini computer will be connected to its local terminals, and these mini computers are connected, are interconnected with the help of communication network. So let us discuss the construction of this mini computer model, and let us see how this works. Here is an explanation about mini computer model. As we observed in the previous diagram, it consists of few mini computers interconnected by communication network. See, here few means as per the diagram we have four mini computers and these are interconnected with the help of this communication network. Each mini computer usually has multiple users logged on it simultaneously. That means in each this mini computer, multiple users can be logged in. That means here we have five terminals. On five terminals, there will be five users. And here we have three terminals. On these three terminals, there will be three users. So these users will log in into this mini computer. And these five users will log in into this mini computer. So the same explanation is given here. Each mini computer usually has multiple users. Here five users will be there. Here three users will be there. Here four users will be there. So each mini computer usually has multiple users logged on to it simultaneously. That means they can log in at the same time. For this, several interactive terminals are connected to each other in mini computer. Several interactive terminals. These are all interactive terminals. With the help of by using these terminals, users can log in to this mini computers. These mini computers are again connected as a system with the help of this communication network. And next one, each user is logged onto it, one mini computer with remote access to other mini computer. See, if a user logged into this mini computer, then he can access this mini computer with the help of this one. If a user logged into this mini computer, then he will get access to this mini computer with the help of this communication channel. The same is specified here. Each user logged on to the one mini computer with remote access to other mini computers. If anyone log on to a mini computer with the help of his terminal, then he'll get access, he'll get remote access to other mini computers. And the next point we must remember is the network allows the user to access remote resources that are available on some machine other than the user is currently logged in. That means if a user logged on to this mini computer, he will get access to all the remaining resources from different mini computers. So one user logged onto this mini computer, then he'll get access resources of this machine. The same point is specified here. The mini computer allows the user to access remote resources that are available on some machine other than the user is currently logged in. And the third one, this can be used, means this mini computer model can be used for resource sharing. This is for information database. For information database, these mini computers can be used. This mini computer model can be used. ARPANET is the best example for mini computer model. So with the help of this mini computer model, databases can be shared. So this is one of the computing model that can be used to construct distributed systems. Please study this diagram carefully. And observe these points also. Here we have 7 points. One is mini computer model. It consists of number of mini computers and number of users can be logged onto mini computer with help of terminals. Each mini computer will be connected to a terminal. And the third one is interactive terminals will be used, and the remaining points will give us if anyone logged onto a mini computer, he will get access to the remaining mini computers which are participating in the distributed network. And if any terminal logged onto a mini computer, then it will get access to the resources of the remaining mini computers which are participating in that distributed network. Workstation model. This is another one, another model. If you observe this diagram, you will get the structure of workstation model. Here, several workstations are used. Again, all the workstations are connected with the help of this communication channel, the help of this communication network. So, this is a distributed system based on workstation model. Now, let us see how each workstation works, how the structure works. So, these are the points that we have to observe about workstation model. A workstation is a high-end microcomputer. So these are high-end microcomputers. These are designed for technical and scientific applications. So these are not ordinary machines. If you call this as workstation, these are not a small machine. So these are high-end microcomputers. All these computers are high-end, high-speed microcomputers. These are specially designed for scientific applications. So these workstations are connected, and this model is called as workstation model. Now let us see what are the characteristics of this workstation model, how this works, how these machines are equipped, how these machines are linked. Each workstation is equipped with its own disk and is intended primarily to be used by one person at a time. So each workstation is having its own disk. It's having its own local disk. So data can be stored. All the machines will have local storage devices. So each machine can store its data locally and to be used by one person at a time. Means each machine can be used by only one person. But they are commonly connected to local area network and run on multi-user operating system. That means all these workstations are having multi-user operating system. That means multiple users can log in. But they are commonly connected to local area network. That means to this network, these workstations are connected. Each workstation is having its own disk. So this disk contains an operating system. Most probably that operating system is multi-user operating system. And the remaining points we'll see. In this structure, large number of workstations can lie idle, resulting in waste of CPU time. That means here, as per our example, 8 workstations are connected. 8 workstations. If we are utilizing 3 workstations here, the remaining 5 workstations are idle. There is no work for those workstations. So the CPU time, the CPU power of these remaining 5 workstations is waste. So for that, what we have to do? We have a solution for that. All the workstations, suppose if you are using only some workstations, the remaining workstations will become idle. In this case, what we have to do? That's why this point tells us large number of workstations can lie idle, resulting in waste of CPU time. So what we have to do? we have to utilize the performance of the idle workstation for the process of these workstations. Suppose these three workstations are busy with work. These three workstations are having some work, but remaining five workstations don't have any work. So the CPU time, the CPU processing speed, the processing time will be idle and is waste. Then in this case, you can use the processing power of this workstation for these workstations. You need not leave these systems idle. So using high speed LAN. So here we have to use a LAN high speed because the processing speed of these systems must be shared to the system. So we need a speed, very high speed LAN here. So using high speed LAN allows idle workstation to process jobs of users who are logged onto other workstations, which have less computing power. That means these three systems have some work, but these five systems don't have any work. Then these five systems can share the work of these three systems. So the work must be shared to the remaining workstations. Then the speed will be increased. The task will be completed very fastly. So to share its work to these systems, as an intermediary, we need communication channel. At the same time, the communication channel must be very fast. We need a very speed communication network, a very speed LAN required here to share the task of these workstations to the remaining idle workstations. So thus this workstation model will work. This is the diagram of workstation model. Please study this diagram and study these points also. In this, have four important points. One is each workstation is a microcomputer, and each workstation will have its local disk. So to avoid wastage of idle workstations processing speed, we can share the task of busy workstations to the idle workstations with the help of a speed LAN. This is workstation model. And another model we have workstation server model. Let us see how this model works. Observe carefully here. This model is having some workstations and some servers also. For every task, there is a server. A file server is there, database server is there, print server is there, and some workstations also there. And all these are connected with the help of the communication channel, a LAN. Now let us see what are the important points we have to discuss about this workstation server model. Workstation with its own local disk is usually called as diskful workstation. If a workstation is having its local disk, then diskful workstation. If a workstation don't have a disk, then that workstation is called as diskless workstation. The same point explained here. Workstation server model. It is the network of personal workstations, each with its own disk and local file system. So each workstation will have a disk and its file system also. So if a workstation is having its own disk, usually it's called as a diskful workstation, and without a disk, then it is called as diskless workstation. These two can be used in this workstation server model. Suppose if you are using a diskless workstation, then where we can store our files. That's why when diskless workstations are used, a file system to be used must be implemented by a diskful workstation or by a microcomputer. So if a workstation don't have a disk, then it is diskless workstation. Then where we can store files? We need a file system to store files. So we need a microcomputer which will have a disk. So the data of these workstations can be stored in these mini computers or in these microcomputers.